All right, so now we're going to do factorizing quadratics using a difference of two squares. So this is a special case of factorizing that we saw come out of doing our double bracket expansion, and it happens when we have something in the form of a squared minus b squared. So an example of this could be we could have x squared minus, well, what's an easy one? 16, right? We could have x squared minus root or minus 3. We could have y squared minus 8. But really, the ones that you're going to see mostly are the ones that we call perfect squares. And that's this top one. So if you look at 16, it's a perfect square. So what that means is we can do 4 squared and we get 16. So we get a whole number if we take our square root. We can work both ways really easily. So anytime this happens, we can right away write our factorization as a plus whatever b is and a minus that. And that's b, not the b squared that's actually in our expression. We have to take the square root of b and then we just add and subtract it. So let's see it in actually working so it makes a little bit more sense. So here, our example is x squared minus 36. So we have to determine if it is a difference of two squares. So does it have something in the form of a squared? Well, we have x squared, so yep, we have that right there, so we're good. Do we have a subtraction? Sure do. And 36, that's a perfect square, but we could really have any number here. It's just perfect squares is what we're going to deal with. So determine if the difference of two squares, done that. Find the square root of the last term. So of our 36, so we're just going to take square root of 36, and that's a button on our calculator, but you should actually know the first 10 square numbers or 15 square numbers, and then for cubic numbers, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 10, I believe, are ones that are necessary. So here, square root of 36 is 6. And that is because we know that 6 squared is 36. So once we know that 6, we know that we can say b equals 6, a equals x, and you can sub it in there into step 3, or you can just remember that we're just going to end up with x plus 6 and x minus 6. And you can always do a little check by expanding. So x squared, negative 6x, plus 6x, minus 36. And you can see that our two middle terms are going to cancel. So we'll get x squared minus 36. The next page is a bunch of questions for you to try. I'm going to go through the first one just with you. So we have to check difference of two squares. Well, that's an a squared, that's a minus, and that's another number. So here, first thing, the square root of 4. So if you want to do this on a calculator, check. It's 2. Most of you should be able to do that one in your heads though. So we know it's going to take the form of x minus 2 and x plus 2. So really simple way of factorizing quadratics. So at this point, pause your video, and then once you're ready, press play, and we'll go through the answers. All right, welcome back. So for this one, we're going to check, and yes, it is an a squared. We have a minus and another number. So we are going to find our square root of our constant or our number. So square root of 9 is 3. Then we know that it takes x minus that number. So x minus 3, and then x plus that number, so x plus 3. Next one, let's look through, x squared minus number. So we take the square root of our 25, which is 5, and then we can do x plus that number, which is 5. So then we do x minus that number, so we get x minus 5. Next one we're doing, we have x squared minus 81. So we have to check, is it an x squared? Sure is. It's a minus, it's a number. So here, we're going to take the square root of our constant, so square root of 81, which is 9, and then we get x plus 9, x minus 9. Next one is 49. Sorry. Very odd. So we'll be back in a few minutes once this gets. So sorry about that. So we're looking here, we're checking, it's x squared, it's a minus, it's number. So we're going square root of our number, so square root of 49, which is 7. So then we're going to do x plus that number, so x plus 7, and then x minus that number, so x minus 7. On the right here, here's a little bit more challenging ones. Well, the first one maybe not, but the second one a little bit for some. So checking, it is an x squared, it's a minus, and it's a number. So we are going to take the square root of that number, so square root of 100, and that's 10. So we're doing x minus 10, and then x plus 10. The last one is not a number that most of you would be familiar with, but if we look at our first number, because the rest are zeros, what are two numbers that can make 4? The same number? Well, it's 2, right? So how about if we take 2 times 2 is 4? Okay, well, what about 20 times 20? Well, 20 times 20 is 400. Or you can always check on a calculator the square root of 400 and find that it's 20. But if you're in a non-calculator paper, or you're just working this out by hand, that's how you would do it. So down here, we are simply just going to get x minus 20 and x plus 20.